The individual who occupies your thoughts so frequently genuinely holds a deep affection for you. Even though everything between you might feel completely uncertain, mixed up, or incredibly difficult to decipher at this moment, there is a profound reason this specific person keeps returning to your mind day after day. It is not an accident, and it is not a random glitch in your brain. This is not happening simply because you are bored, feeling lonely, or experiencing a temporary moment of emotional vulnerability. Something truly meaningful is keeping this connection alive deep within your inner world and your daily emotions. This person surfaces in your mind for a very clear reason, even when you are putting absolutely no effort into thinking about them. They come to you during those completely quiet moments when the chaotic noise of the world finally fades away and your mind is able to relax. They show up in the small, empty pauses between your usual daily thoughts, and in those quiet seconds just before you fall asleep when your guard is completely dropped. Sometimes they appear without any warning whatsoever, right in the middle of an ordinary day while you are busy going about your normal activities. If you find yourself unable to stop thinking about someone even when you try your hardest, recognize that this message is meant for you. You could be entirely wrapped up in your work, deep in conversation with someone else, laughing with your friends, or just feeling completely calm, and then suddenly their face appears in your mind without any invitation. Their unique voice, their specific smile, or a vivid memory connected to them rises up inside you without any forced effort or trying on your part. It all happens completely naturally and smoothly on its own. You may have tried countless times to push these persistent thoughts away from your main focus. You may have told yourself firmly that it is finally time to move forward and that thinking about them no longer serves any good or healthy purpose in your life anymore. You may have reminded yourself again and again of the overwhelming confusion, the physical distance, or the incredibly long silence that currently exists between you both. At times, you may have questioned your own thoughts very seriously. You may have wondered if you are just imagining something that is not actually real, or if you are holding on to a false sense of hope without any solid logical reason behind it. You may have asked yourself why they still matter quite so much, when absolutely nothing seems clear or settled between you. Yet, no matter how hard you try to distract your mind with other tasks and projects, they continue to return to your thoughts steadily and reliably. Even when you tell yourself that you are completely done with it all, and even when you feel incredibly strong for a temporary while, they remain quietly present inside your spirit. This ongoing experience is not a coincidence, and it is absolutely not a sign that something is wrong with you. It does not mean that you are stuck or desperate or completely unable to let go of the past. It simply means there is an emotional bond that has not been fully resolved or closed yet in your shared story. It means that something highly emotional still exists between you, whether it has been spoken out loud or not in clear, definitive words. Connections like this are never created by simple logic or careful strategic planning alone. They are not controlled by sheer willpower, no matter how strong or determined that willpower feels to you. They are formed at a much deeper level, where intense emotion, shared memory, and real meaning come together over time. When someone continues to appear in your thoughts without any conscious effort from you, it almost always means that there is unfinished emotional energy still actively present between you both. Something was felt deeply by both sides, even if it was never fully expressed in words or direct actions. Something major was shared between you, even if it was never clearly defined or labeled properly by either person. This individual may very well be thinking of you as well, even if they do not reach out or speak openly about their feelings at this current time. Thoughts do not always travel in spoken words, text messages, or phone calls. Feelings do not always manifest themselves through direct action or clear logical steps. Sometimes, people carry massive emotions silently inside themselves because they feel entirely unsure of what to do with them at this point in their lives. They may feel completely overwhelmed, deeply afraid, or highly uncertain about what the future holds. There is someone who keeps appearing in your thoughts no matter what you do to stop it. They may not know exactly how to act on what they feel right now, so they choose to keep it buried inside for the time being. But just because they stay perfectly quiet does not mean they are completely empty of care or emotion toward you. You may actually sense them at completely unexpected times during your day or night. You might feel a sudden, unexplainable wave of emotion like intense warmth, deep sadness, or a strong longing without knowing exactly why it arrived at that exact second. You may feel deeply connected to them even when there is massive physical or emotional distance separating you both. This is not just your imagination playing cruel tricks on your mind. Strong emotional connections often work quietly beneath the surface of daily life in ways that are very hard to see clearly with the eyes. They do not always follow clear rules, logical patterns, or expected timelines in life. They exist quietly while constantly influencing your thoughts and feelings in ways that are difficult to explain fully to anyone else. You are not weak for feeling this way because you are simply being human in every sense of the word. Caring deeply about another soul does not just disappear because you decide with your logical mind that it should end. The human heart does not simply move on just because the brain tells it to do so right away. When something genuinely meaningful has touched you, it leaves a permanent, lasting mark inside your soul. And that specific mark remains until it has been fully understood, properly healed, or gently transformed over a long period of time. This profound connection does not mean you should sit around and wait endlessly or ignore your own personal needs and growth. It simply means that what you felt between you was very real, highly significant and important. It means the bond truly mattered in the grand scheme of your life story. Confusion does not cancel out love or erase its actual presence. Silence does not erase the deep emotion that still lives on inside. Distance does not always mean there is a complete absence of feeling on their side of the connection. Sometimes it simply means there is a lot of fear, massive uncertainty, or an intense inner struggle happening on the other side of this bond. You may never receive completely clear answers from them, or perhaps one day you might suddenly get them when you least expect it. But regardless of what happens next in reality, your own inner experience remains completely valid, authentic, and true. The thoughts you have are not random, chaotic, or pointless. The emotions you feel are not meaningless at all. They are an essential part of a unique story that touched you deeply and changed something fundamental inside you. If this person continues to live in your thoughts day after day, it is because something between you has not fully closed or reached its natural end yet. That does not mean it must continue forever in the exact same painful way. It simply means it mattered a great deal to who you are. And things that matter this much always take a lot of time to settle peacefully and quietly in the heart. Be incredibly gentle with yourself during this confusing period. Do not judge your thoughts harshly, and do not try to rush your feelings to end quickly. True understanding often comes very slowly and naturally when you practice patience. And sometimes the ultimate purpose of a deep connection is not to last forever, but rather to change you, to teach you incredibly important lessons, and to remind you of your beautiful ability to feel deeply. Even in total confusion and even in complete silence, that connection still holds a very real meaning for both sides. When someone occupies your thoughts this deeply and consistently over a long period of time, it usually means the emotional cord between you and them is still fully alive and active. This remains true even if you no longer speak regularly, even if harsh circumstances pulled you apart, and even if the silence has lasted much longer than either of you ever expected. Your mind is not simply clinging blindly to the past without any reason. You feel a deep bond with someone even in total silence and across vast distance. Your heart is simply responding to something that feels entirely unfinished between you. There is something significant between you that never reached a clear ending, a proper goodbye, or a satisfying resolution. Human beings are not fundamentally disturbed or kept awake by what is complete and settled. We are naturally disturbed and kept awake by what is left open, completely unclear, and emotionally unresolved in our lives. You may notice that you think of them automatically when something good happens in your life, and you immediately want to share the joy. When you experience a small victory, a funny moment, or see something beautiful, they instantly come to mind as the exact person you want to tell right away. You imagine sharing the small, mundane details of your day with them because those things seem unimportant on the surface but feel deeply meaningful to you inside. You find yourself wondering how they are feeling even when your own daily life is completely full and busy with many different activities. Sometimes you feel a strange magnetic pull, not just toward their physical presence, but toward their energy, their emotional world, and their current inner state. This specific kind of pull happens when two people are emotionally tuned to the exact same frequency, even across massive physical distance and months of silence. What most people do not fully realize is that deep emotional bonds do not just disappear because communication stops suddenly. Silence does not erase a connection or erase shared feelings. Distance does not cancel out an emotional attachment that was carefully built over a long period of time. When two people connect at a truly deep level, that bond leaves a permanent imprint on the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind does not operate on simple logic, convenience, or strict time limits. It operates entirely on meaning, deep emotion, and unfinished business that still requires attention and closure. If you are still thinking about them constantly, it is because some part of you knows that the story is not fully written or finished yet. This also explains perfectly why the connection feels so incredibly complicated and hard to understand sometimes. Love that is simple and straightforward usually settles into clarity without much inner struggle. Love that feels distant, highly confusing, or heavily delayed often exists entirely in the fragile space between fear and desire. One or both of you may be deeply afraid of vulnerability, afraid of massive change, afraid of repeating old emotional pain, or afraid of wanting something that feels highly uncertain or difficult right now. Fear does not erase love completely from a person. It simply delays it for a while. It hides it temporarily and creates a protective distance where closeness is deeply desired but feels far too risky to pursue. You may constantly wonder why, if they truly care for you, they have not acted yet or reached out in clear, undeniable ways. You wonder why they have stayed completely quiet for so long without any explanation. Love does not always move in a perfectly straight line or follow the expected paths we see in stories. Many people feel things incredibly deeply but do not know exactly how to act on those strong, overwhelming feelings inside. Some people are heavily guarded emotionally because of painful past experiences. Some are carrying deep wounds from earlier relationships that still affect how they interact today. Some are completely stuck between heavy responsibility and intense desire in their current daily lives. Some feel entirely unworthy of the love they receive, and some truly believe they need to fix themselves completely before they allow any real closeness again. The human mind often returns automatically to what the heart cannot resolve easily. This is precisely why they appear in your thoughts when you are perfectly calm, when you are quiet, or when you are emotionally open without any distractions around you. At night, when all the daily distractions finally fall away, the unconscious mind speaks much more clearly than during the busy daylight hours. During the day, when your guard is down, the exact same natural thing happens without any forced effort. You want to understand why this person is still living in your mind every single day. This is not you forcing the thought into your mind through sheer willpower. It arises entirely on its own from much deeper, hidden places. That is an incredibly important detail for you to remember always. Thoughts that come completely uninvited often come from the deepest emotional layers within your being. There is also something else major happening beneath the surface when these memories arise so vividly. When you think of them, you are not only thinking about who they are as a physical person, but you are connecting with the unfinished emotional energy that still links your hearts together. You are also thinking deeply about exactly who you were during those specific times when you felt connected to them in truly special ways. Certain unique people have a way of awakening hidden parts of us that stayed completely dormant with everyone else before. They reflect something beautiful back to us that feels incredibly familiar, deeply meaningful, or truly alive inside our own souls. Losing regular access to that beautiful reflection can easily feel like losing a significant part of yourself for a temporary time. This is precisely why the emotional longing feels so much deeper than simple attraction or casual infatuation alone. Vast distance between two people who genuinely care for each other often exists not because love is missing from the equation, but because complicated timing, intense fear, or deep inner conflict stand squarely in the way for now. You may strongly feel that something unseen is holding both of you back from moving any closer to each other. That specific intuitive sense is usually highly accurate and well worth noticing. When strong emotions remain active without any clear resolution, the human psyche keeps the connection fully alive until it finally finds true understanding or proper closure. You might also feel heavy moments of emotional confusion from time to time as you go about your life. One day you feel completely strong, independent, and detached from it all. And then the very next day, a tiny, unexpected reminder brings absolutely everything back strongly to the surface. Real connections never fully disappear from our lives, even when things feel completely unclear and messy. This constant fluctuation is entirely normal and is a natural part of the emotional process. It simply means your conscious mind is trying its best to protect your heart from pain, while your deeper emotional mind remains fully connected underneath the surface. These two distinct parts of yourself do not always agree perfectly with each other. True healing does not mean forcing yourself to forget everything completely or erasing your precious memories. It means understanding deeply why the bond exists in the first place and what it is asking of you at this specific stage of your personal journey. Sometimes the connection remains alive because there is a massive lesson to be learned from it. Sometimes it remains because the communication is simply not finished between you both yet. And sometimes it remains because both people are slowly growing toward the exact same emotional truth, even if they are not entirely ready to face it at the exact same time. Emotional timing is rarely synchronized perfectly in human life. If you feel deeply that they love you but choose to remain distant, it is highly likely because they are fighting a massive internal struggle of their very own. They may feel the exact same magnetic pull you feel toward them every single day. They may think of you much more than you could ever possibly know at this current time. They may constantly wonder if you still care deeply for them too. But instead of moving closer to you right away, they hesitate because of many complicated reasons. This persistent hesitation often comes from a deep fear of permanent loss, a fear of total rejection, or a fear of changing their current life situation far too quickly. True love does not always announce itself loudly with big dramatic gestures or public statements. Sometimes it hides quietly behind total silence and very careful steps. Sometimes it waits patiently behind extreme caution for the right moment to appear. Sometimes it watches you quietly from afar, hoping for the perfect time to step forward without any risk of getting hurt. The absolute absence of direct action does not always mean the absence of deep feeling on their part. What matters most for you right now is not trying to control the final outcome completely. It is understanding what this connection is actively showing you about yourself and your own individual growth. It may be teaching you patience in highly important ways that you needed to learn. It may be teaching you deep self-worth and inner strength. It may be asking you to stop chasing external validation and start trusting the natural process of life much more. Or it may simply be preparing you to receive absolute clarity when the time is finally right. Whether that clarity comes through a beautiful reunion or a gentle, peaceful release, you are absolutely not foolish for feeling this way. You are not weak for thinking of them so often throughout your days. You are simply responding to a profound bond that exists far beyond surface logic and simple explanations. The analytical mind always tries to explain it away with easy reasons, but the heart recognizes it instantly as something entirely real. When something truly matters in life, it does not disappear easily or quickly from your system. If they love you and the distance remains for now, then time and inner growth are doing highly important work behind the scenes in both of you. This message speaks directly to what you are feeling deep inside right now. Connections like this often move incredibly slowly because they carry immense real depth and meaning. True depth requires emotional readiness, and real readiness can never be rushed, no matter how much we desperately want it to happen. For now, simply allow the thoughts to pass through your mind without casting any harsh judgment on yourself. Do not force extra imaginary meaning onto them, but do not dismiss them completely either without a second thought. Pay very close attention to exactly how you feel when they appear in your mind, whether it is a sense of calm, warmth, sadness, longing, or hope, because all of these emotions carry useful information for you. Your emotions are speaking to you clearly in these quiet moments. Remember this important truth, that what is truly meant for you does not require constant, exhausting struggle or endless pain. It may require a lot of patience, but it will never demand that you completely abandon yourself or your own fundamental needs. Whether this connection eventually evolves into something tangible and real, or slowly fades with time, it is shaping you in ways you cannot yet fully see or understand. And if one day the distance closes completely naturally, it will be because both of you are finally ready to meet each other without any fear holding you back. Until then, trust completely that what you are experiencing has real meaning, even if that meaning is not fully clear to you yet in this exact moment. When you think about someone again and again, when their presence stays in your mind from early morning until late night, there is often a quiet connection happening beneath the surface of daily life. Many times they are thinking about you too, even if they never say it out loud to anyone, or even fully admit it to themselves in the mirror. Yes, they love you, even if those specific words have never been spoken between you out loud. Love does not always appear in obvious ways that everyone around you can see clearly. It does not always arrive as clear actions, bold moves, or highly confident decisions right away. Sometimes, love shows itself most clearly in silence and enduring patience. Sometimes, it shows itself in waiting quietly for much better timing. Sometimes, it shows itself in careful restraint to protect what matters most from being ruined. The person you cannot stop thinking about, may feel a very deep love for you indeed. That love may be incredibly strong, heavy, and constant inside their chest. But experiencing love does not always mean they are ready to step forward immediately into a relationship. Readiness and love are not exactly the same thing in every human situation. Someone can love you with their whole heart and still feel entirely unable to move closer to you at this time for deeply personal reasons. They may feel completely unworthy of you, as if you are far too good, too kind, or too complete for them right now. They may be incredibly afraid of hurting you because they know how fragile and precious the connection feels to them. They may sincerely believe that the timing is entirely wrong, that their life is far too complicated at the moment, or that current circumstances are not aligned properly yet. They may be carrying heavy old wounds that were never fully healed from their past. Pain from past relationships, deep disappointments, betrayals, or sudden losses still lives quietly inside them and heavily affects their daily choices. They may fear that if they get any closer to you, they could end up losing you entirely in some painful way. So, instead of moving toward you openly and confidently, they pause and hold back. Instead of reaching out with a message, they hesitate with extreme care. Instead of confessing what they feel so strongly, they hold it all inside to stay safe from harm. This is not because they feel too little toward you as a person. It is actually because they feel far too much, and the intensity of it completely overwhelms them. When human feelings are shallow, people tend to act quickly without thinking much about it. When feelings are light, people take risks easily without any worry about the future. But when love is completely real and touches something incredibly deep inside, people naturally become very careful, hesitant, and thoughtful. Fear begins to whisper difficult questions into their mind and shapes their daily choices. You can easily sense they are thinking about you too, but something major is holding them back from acting. When love is casual, people move freely without much concern for the outcome. They text you without any worry or overthinking. They speak their mind without any fear of future consequences. They step forward without thinking too much about what could potentially go wrong later down the road. But when love feels deeply meaningful and like it could change everything important in their life, people slow down naturally. They become hyper-aware of exactly what is truly at stake in the relationship. They start to think deeply about responsibility, about emotional impact, and about what could go wrong if things are not handled well. They start to protect not only themselves, but also the other person they care for so deeply. Many people wonder how such a massive distance can exist, even when love is fully present and strong. This distance is absolutely not created by a lack of emotion or a lack of care. It is created entirely by an intense inner struggle happening inside their own mind. On one side of their heart, they feel you strongly and constantly sense your presence, your unique energy, and your immense importance to them. On the other side, they feel immense pressure, heavy fear, real responsibility, and deep doubt pulling them in completely different directions. These two opposing sides pull hard against each other, creating intense tension and massive confusion within their soul. They may ask themselves incredibly difficult questions over and over again about what the future holds. They wonder what will happen if they cannot give you exactly what you deserve in life. They worry about what will happen if they disappoint you badly. They fear that they might ruin something truly beautiful between you. They question if they are healed enough yet to move forward safely without causing damage. They worry that their past issues will follow them into this connection and cause endless problems. They wonder if getting closer will make things much more complicated instead of better for both of you. They fear losing control of their emotions completely. They stress over the idea of losing you entirely because of their own deep-seated fears. These constant internal questions do not come from a place of indifference or a lack of care. They come directly from caring deeply and understanding that real love has massive weight and true consequences. So, they choose to maintain distance as a form of protection for the time being. This is not protection from you personally as an individual, but protection from their very own overwhelming emotions. They step back, not because they do not want you, but because they are entirely overwhelmed by how much they truly want you in their life. Sometimes creating distance is the only way they know how to manage feelings that feel far too big to handle easily. They may not have learned how to love safely without fear completely taking over their thoughts. They may not trust themselves fully with something that matters this much to them. They may sincerely believe that staying completely quiet is much safer than speaking up and risking everything important. Silence can feel so much easier than showing vulnerability openly to another person. Distance can feel infinitely safer than full closeness when emotions run high. This specific kind of love is incredibly confusing for the one who waits patiently on the other side. It can easily make you question yourself and your own feelings at times. It can make you wonder if the connection is entirely real or only something you imagined in your mind. But real love does not always show itself in the perfect and easy ways that everyone expects to see. Sometimes it appears broken, highly hesitant, and deeply afraid of moving too fast. Sometimes it hides behind logic and practical excuses for a while. Sometimes it consciously chooses waiting over immediate action to avoid making painful mistakes. The person who loves you deeply but stays distant often feels completely torn every single day inside their own heart. They think about you when they first wake up in the morning and when they fall asleep at night. Your name crosses their mind in quiet moments throughout the entire day.